To start, turn your iPad off. You can do this from general, or you can hold down the volume key and power at the same time. Now you can see as we recap when I did it the actual proper way, this isn't a full-on walkthrough as much as it is a compilation of different tips and things I used when I had issues and how I resolved them. So let's get going straight away. You're going to take two pieces of tape. You're going to put the iPad in widescreen mode as opposed to portrait, and you're going to put those two pieces of tape on each side of where the camera cutout would be on the iPad. That's the main difference. So we're not doing this in portrait mode, which I'll refer to as the proper way. We're going to do this in sort of widescreen mode. The reason behind that is you're lowering your footprint, meaning that as you apply the screen protector, it's less of an area where you have to cover so that less bubbles ultimately appear. Now here we're just cleaning off the surface. These are per instructions pretty much. Now if you don't have the dust removers, you can just use Scotch tape. You'll see I added another piece of tape against the actual screen protector, so I'm pulling it off from the middle as I apply it. This helps keeps the tension in the right place instead of from the corner where bubbles might appear. Again, pulling this off very slowly, you can see at the top of the screen protector I made it a mess, so all these different bubbles you're seeing, ignore that. But what's critical is that you're not touching your fingers against the actual screen of the iPad. Now I'm going to take this top cover off, revealing the actual, our actual work here. There's going to be bubbles. See, as soon as I peek under, I can see the bubbles here. So the one thing I really had a hard time with was actually trying to smooth out the bubbles with that cover still on. So I just decided not to use it. As I pull it up, you can see big, gigantic gaps of air. You actually like those because they're really easy to get out. Plus, you can leverage them to get out the smaller bubbles. We'll talk about that as we get there. So here's our plan of attack. In the corners of the iPad, on the surface of the screen protector you just laid down, you're going to put down 4 pieces of primary Scotch tape. This is going to help you lift the screen protector from the corner so you can get the dust out. We'll cover it. The next thing, which is sort of optional, is you're going to lay down later on, once I let you know, secondary pieces of Scotch tape in the middle of all 4 sides of the iPad. What that's going to allow you to do is if you really have some nasty bubbles to get out, it's going to help you work in quadrants, as we're about to show here. It divides the iPad into 4 equal parts, and the tape will help hold down the other section so you don't pull the other section you just fixed off by accident while you're working on another one. Right, let's get to the meat of it. So we're now actually doing the dust removal. We're going to use fresh pieces of Scotch tape to do this. Your dust removal stickers they're not going to be enough. If you got into a place where it's this bad, forget it. Now there's 2 ways to use this Scotch tape. One is obviously against the actual screen protector itself. Remember, we're not using the cover anymore, we are on the screen protector, right? So here I'm already screwing up because I should be holding the Scotch tape and I'm not. So I'm not even following my own directions, but again, this was a lot of trial and error for me. The secondary thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the Scotch tape upside down against the screen protector itself. Even in 4K, you're not going to see all the dust on here, and you will be amazed. You get all the dust down, you put the screen protector down, and you look and there's a bubble there where it wasn't before. This is just the nature of it. So one of the things I suggest as I'm continuing to clean the screen protector is that you wear short sleeves, you have a hat on, and you tie your hair back and make sure that it could be anything, a piece of hair, skin nastiness, or something like that falls on the screen protector. You just can't see it. Now, since we're actually on the screen protector itself, you can't take your credit card and start scratching the thing up trying to get the bubbles out. You have to use the included, or if you haven't gotten one included, another screen protector, use a microfiber cloth and don't go scratching way into the thing. The bubble doesn't come out. It's most likely because there's a piece of dust under it. These big bubbles, as you see I'm pushing them out, try not to do that at first. Those big bubbles are your friends. We can push them around the screen to ultimately figure out if a bubble is a bubble or if there's a piece of dust underneath there that we just can't see. If you got all the particles removed, when you lay the screen protector back down, it should just lay flat down. If it's not, it means there's probably dust or hair underneath there or something like that. We're quickly going through the other side. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because it's really the same thing. It's nothing additional, but you see what I mean by doing the four corners first. I haven't yet laid down secondary tape because A, I haven't figured it out yet at the time of this, filming, and B, I seem to be doing okay with the screen protector laying down. But you can see those air bubbles in the lower left-hand corner starting to move. Now those guys are my friends. I should be keeping them around to ultimately find the ones that I can't get out. Now what you have here, which is really, really important, is that you really clean those edges, around where the screen protector ends. And what you have is I'm pulling that tape and putting a lot of tension on there because you'd be surprised how much you can squeeze out just by pulling that tape forward to lay those corners down. Now here we have an alternate way. Instead of having the scotch tape directly against the screen protector and or the actual iPad itself, is I actually tape my finger. Now one of the things I was running into with everything I showed earlier is that on occasion my finger would touch the iPad or the screen protector and leave like a smudge. Then I'd have to go back and wipe it off, and it just became like painful after a while. So I wrapped my finger in this tape, and that helped, especially in these areas where I had to go really deep inside the iPad, and I didn't want to put a smudge like right in the middle of it and then have to wipe it. And just note, anytime you wipe it down, even with a microfiber or something or another, inevitably you leave or add additional dust to the iPad, which is what you don't want. So this finger trick came in handy for me. You can see on occasions, very lightly against the back of that screen protector, I would slide against it as I was putting it down just to make sure there was stuff. If I didn't see it, it was picking it up as I laid it down, and here you can see it's as flat as can be. Time to deploy the secondary tape. You can see what I did here was just in the graphic I showed earlier. This allows me to work much more specifically in a corner if I need be. I'm using the tape in the corner. I am pulling up on the screen protector and I'm sliding the tape without actually exposing the surface of the iPad. This means ultimately that less dust is going to collect, which is what I want. I am nearing the finish line here. I'm trying to get it done. Now you can slide that tape upside down to also get the actual underneath of the screen protector. So this works great to make sure that no dust accumulates. Now don't pay attention to the additional bubbles. I edited this thing out of order to try to compile the tips the best that I could to make sure you get the most out of this as possible. And of course, I needed a reason to extend the video because I needed additional watch time. I'm just kidding. Well, sort of. Seriously, we're doing some detail work now. We're really trying to get those edges cleaned up so that we could ultimately finish this project. And you could see from the top, once I laid the screen protector back down, sometimes it takes just a little bit of rubbing back and forth to pick up those really tough dust particles that just will not come off the iPad. But if you look from the screen, the second I get them up, I don't even have to press against the screen protector. It just lays down flat naturally. That's a surefire indicator that you got something underneath there if there's still bubbles. Especially if you've not cleaned the underside of the screen protector itself. That's where I had a lot of my trouble and the most of my frustration. Now the one thing I didn't represent well here in the video is that I must have went through 30 different pieces of tape. Every time I pulled a piece of tape off, which you can see on camera, I actually changed to a new piece of tape. The reason is because the dust collects on the tape, and then you put it back on the iPad, what happens? The dust winds up on the iPad or on the back of the screen protector, which is what you don't want to happen. We're near the end here, folks. You can see we're really making some good progress. And we're going to show a perfect example how one of those corners is taped down now. You see how I'm able to work in one of the quadrants that we outlined before without having to worry about the entire screen protector coming up. I've marked it there. That's why you don't see the tape. We're smoothing it out. Again, very important to make sure we smooth out those edges. The edges hold the key and will be the final places where you don't see dust. Now when we're towards the end like this, feel free to add extra pieces of tape just to slightly lift where that last dust particle may or may not be. You can see here how close we are, but one last tool out of the chest we're going to use is an old-fashioned blow dryer. Now, you want to be smart here, folks. You don't want the thing super high and melt the thing down, to nothing or burn your house down. I mean, I'm going to feel terrible if that happens. So what you want to do is just, try the thing on warm first. You don't want it on super, super hot or super, super high. And you're just really doing one of two things. One, you're making sure you're getting any of the last remaining, bubbles out. Two, what I'm doing here is I'm starting to remove all the oils and grease from, where my hands left because I was working on a screen protector. And then last, you're really giving that screen protector a nice seal with that heat, with the blow dryer. If you have to put it on hot, it's okay. Just be careful and pay attention. Cleanup time. I have a damp cloth, a wet cloth, with just a tiny, tiny bit of all natural dishwashing liquid, just a little tiny bit, not enough to suds it up, but to remove those oils. Now I'm using a subsequent dry paper towel very lightly just to lift all the actual, if I left any wet residue on the iPad itself, I want to get that off. You can use the microfiber cloth to see where you missed. If you see any smudging or anything going on, it means you haven't lifted those oils all the way. And now I've got this thing right up against my ring light, which is annoying, but helps me see if in fact I missed any spots. The final result, an absolutely perfect application of the Paperlike 2 matte screen protector. The one last thing I'd like to add is we bask in the glory of my conquering of the matte screen protector is that this video is compiled of 3 different applications. So if any of you are saying, man, this guy, is absolutely crazy to spend this much time, I would have just sent it back or gave up or whatever. Note that I did this 3 different times over 2 days because I just kept finding new tricks and new ways to get it more perfect, ultimately achieving the outcome that I wanted, which was a bubble-free installation. And again, although targeted towards the Paperlike 2 product, this would work with Paperlike 1 or any other matte screen protector for an iPad, a phone, a laptop. There's nothing really specific about this. I just think that I was way too OCD to let this go, so thought I'd put this tutorial out there to help people, considering the complaints I see across a multi-tool products, whether it's iPhone or whatever, Android, and people seem to, really harp on the fact that and nail these companies, with negative reviews, because of something which I think is now controllable, and that's dust particles. So you can see it's unbelievable how much dust you can't see that accumulates on the glass. So really the trick is, and the reason I did it from, a different way than what Jan suggests, is because the iPad Pro 12.9 edition is so large that I think just that little amount of time from peeling off the, the back layer and putting it down, all this different dust accumulates. So hopefully you follow the instructions and you don't have as hard of a time as I did. Again, you can look at my Paperlike 1 video with a full tutorial on how I actually applied the first one with no problems. I was done like 15 minutes compared to this one. However, if you do have sort of OCD like I do, and just the slightest bubble is going to bother you, it's most likely due to a dust particle you can't even see. So hopefully following this, again, took me much longer because I had to kind of figure this out on my own, and I hope you guys find some use for it. not only for Paperlike 2, but this will work with any kind of screen protector, phone, tablet, you know, what have you. So leave comments and questions below, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. And I want to thank you guys for watching.